I'm Mr. Morton. There's going to be two things that we're going to be talking a lot about in this class and doing drawing exercise specifically to help us improve in these areas. The first is eye-hand coordination. So eye-hand coordination is if you can take an object and throw it from one hand to the other, you have good enough eye-hand coordination to be a really good artist with time and practice. There are a lot of exercises that we're going to be doing, especially these first couple weeks, that are specifically meant to help improve your eye-hand coordination. Every time that you draw, you are helping to improve your eye-hand coordination, and that's why practice is so important if you want to be really good at art. The next thing that we're going to be talking a lot about is the right and the left side of the brain. So I'm sure you've all heard this idea that we have a right and a left side of our brain. It's a scientifically proven fact. We know that the right side of the brain is good at doing some activities and not very good at doing others. And we know that the left side of the brain is good at doing some activities and not doing others. Obviously, at all times, we're using both sides of our brain, but there are definitely ways that you can learn to tap into one side of the brain more than the other. And the way that I remember it is I just think that for art, it is the right way to do it. So we want to try and tap into the right side of the brain. I'm going to read you some definitions of activities that the right side of the brain is good at and activities that the left side of the brain is good at, and why we want to try and use the right side of our brain when we draw. So the right side of the brain is intuitive. That means that it feels that an answer is a certain way. It doesn't really necessarily know why. It's kind of like trusting your gut. The right side of the brain is timeless. That's why if you like to draw, you've probably experienced this. You look up at the clock, an hour has passed, and it felt like 5 minutes because you were so engulfed in the drawing. The right side of the brain is relaxed. A lot of us love to draw because it's relaxing. The right side of the brain is anxiety-free. Now, I would imagine that some of you probably say that you have a lot of anxiety when it comes to art, but if we're really truly tapped into the right side of the brain, it is anxiety-free. And the right side of the brain is holistic, which means when it looks at a problem, it can start in the beginning, it can start at the end, it can jump to the middle, it can kind of like jump all around. It's really good at thinking outside of the box as well. So these are activities that the left side of the brain is good at. So the left side of the brain is verbal. In most of your classes, from the time you're in kindergarten, one of the points of school is to teach us how to be able to communicate with other humans. The left side of the brain is logical. A lot of your other classes are logic-based. The left side of the brain is really good at keeping track of time. So if you think of like a school day's schedule, especially if you've been at Grants Pass before and you know our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday kind of rotating schedule, that was made by someone who was tapping into the left side of their brain. The left side of the brain is symbolic, which means it uses symbols to represent things. So if I drew these 3 symbols, pretty much anyone in the world is going to know what I'm trying to describe. So symbols are great when it comes to something like that. The problem is that when we try and draw things, the left side of our brain will try and use symbols or tell us to use symbols for what things look like. Here's an example. So for a lot of us, the symbol of a hand goes back to that one of the very first things we did in kindergarten, where we traced our hand and we made like a turkey out of it for Thanksgiving. So for a lot of people, that is a symbol of a hand. Again, anyone would know that that was supposed to be a hand. It looks enough like a hand to show us that, but it definitely does not look like a realistic hand. And the left side of the brain is linear, which means when it wants to solve a problem, it has to do it by steps. It starts in the beginning, and then it goes through the steps, and it works its way through to the end. So we want to learn to tap into the right side of our brain, and a lot of the activities that we're going to be doing are meant specifically to, one, help with your eye-hand coordination, and two, to help you learn what it feels like to use the right side of your brain and how you can tap into it. Thanks.